The night the moon didn't rise. Chapter 1. The world that expected the moon. For as long as anyone could remember, the moon had always risen. It rose without announcement, without effort, and without ever needing to be asked. Night after night, it appeared in the sky, as naturally as breath follows sleep. No one waited for it anymore. No one worried whether it would come. The moon was simply expected, and because it was expected, it was rarely noticed. In a small village tucked between low hills, evening arrived the same way it always had. Doors were closed gently. Lanterns were lit one by one. Voices lowered themselves without instruction. Children were guided to beds they had slept in before. Blankets were pulled up to familiar places. Stories were told that had already been told many times. Outside, windows glowed softly, dimmed, then went dark. Above it all, the sky waited. Beyond the village, the forest prepared for night. Leaves settled into stillness. Branches loosened their long-held tension. Birds folded themselves into quiet shapes. The forest had learned the rhythm of the moon long ago. When moonlight arrived, it filtered gently through the canopy, resting on moss, on stone, on paths that no one walked anymore. The forest did not fear the night. It understood it. Farther still, the sea followed its own familiar pattern. Waves rolled inward, then back again, guided by a pull they did not question. The moon had always been there to guide them. Silver light touched the surface of the water, breaking into quiet fragments with each movement. Boats rocked gently in harbors. Buoys chimed softly against their ropes. Nothing hurried. Nothing hesitated. The moon would rise. It always did. In the sky, stars had already taken their places. They appeared slowly, one after another, as if following instructions known only to them. They did not shine brightly yet. They were waiting. The moon usually arrived soon after. In the village, an old clock marked the passing of time. Its sound was steady, reliable. Each tick fell exactly where the one before it had been. No one watched the clock closely. Time was doing what it always did. Inside one quiet home, a candle burned lower than expected. Its flame leaned slightly, then straightened itself again. A hand reached out and adjusted it, not because something was wrong, but because that was what happened at night. Across the room, a cat curled tighter into itself. A dog paused before settling down, lifting its head just long enough to glance at the sky. There was no concern in the movement, only habit. Night deepened. The sky darkened fully now, rich and wide. Stars filled the spaces between one another, as they always had. But still, the moon had not appeared. First, this meant nothing. The moon was not always early. Sometimes it arrived slowly, slipping into view long after the stars had settled. No one thought to question it. No one marked the moment. The village grew quieter. The forest grew deeper. The sea continued its steady breath. And yet, the sky remained unchanged. In the village square, a lantern flickered softly. Its light did not stretch as far as it usually did. Shadows lingered longer than expected. No one was afraid. The night felt calm, just unfinished. Somewhere, a window curtain was pulled aside for a moment. Someone looked up, then back inside. There was no alarm, only curiosity, brief and easily dismissed. The forest noticed next. Without moonlight, the spaces between trees felt wider. Not darker, just wider. The forest listened, the way it always did. The sea paused only slightly. Waves hesitated, then continued as best they could. They had never needed to remember how. The moon had always reminded them. Time moved forward, slowly, naturally. By the time the village clock marked the later hours of night, the stars were fully awake. They shone clearly now, undisturbed, but above them, there was still an absence. The moon had not risen, not yet, and so the world waited, not in fear, not in confusion, but in quiet expectation, because the moon had always me before, because it always would, or so everyone believed. Chapter 2, The Long Waiting. The first thing to change was not the sky, it was the waiting. Waiting had always been easy at night. Sleep arrived quickly when darkness settled properly. But on this night, sleep moved more slowly. Not stubbornly, not restlessly, just carefully. In the village, people remained in their homes. No doors opened suddenly. No voices rose. The night did not feel wrong. It felt patient. Candles burned longer than usual. Their flames held steady, as if unsure when they would be dismissed. One candle reached its end and left behind a thin trail of smoke. Another was lit in its place, without discussion. In one home, a child asked a quiet question. It was answered softly. The answer did not include worry. It included reassurance. The moon is only late. And that was enough. The stars watched. They had never needed to shine alone before. But they did not object. They filled the sky carefully, leaving space where the moon should have been. They did not crowd it. The forest waited differently. It had learned long ago that not everything arrives on time. Stillness deepened beneath the trees. Owls delayed their calls. Small animals adjusted their rest. The forest did not hurry the night. It allowed it to unfold. Paths that usually glowed faintly remained untouched by light. Roots and stones rested in shadow. Unbothered, the forest trusted what it had always trusted. At the sea's edge, the waiting became more noticeable. The tide did not pull back as strongly as it usually did. It did not stop. It simply softened. Waves reached the shore and returned more gently, as if unsure how far to go. Boats rocked less. Ropes stayed loose. The sea listened for guidance that did not arrive. There was no alarm, only adjustment. Hours passed. Not quickly, not slowly, naturally. In the village square, the old clock continued its work. Its sound carried farther than usual. Each tick felt clearer, more alone. Still steady. Windows remained dark. Most had gone to sleep. Others rested without knowing why sleep had not come yet. Thoughts drifted, then circled, then drifted again. Someone turned over in bed and faced the other direction. Someone else pulled a blanket higher. Somewhere, a fire settled deeper into embers. The sky remained unchanged. Stars bright. Moon absent. Midnight approached. Without announcement, the village clock marked it gently. The sound was not dramatic. It did not echo. It simply happened. Midnight passed. Nothing followed. In the forest, leaves shifted slightly. Not from wind. From release. The night had grown heavier. Not darker. Just fuller. The sea paused again. Waves hesitated between movements, then continued. The rhythm was unfamiliar, but not unwelcome. The world realized something then. Not all at once. Not clearly, but quietly. The moon was not missing. It was delayed. And delay. The world understood. Waiting became easier. Breathing slowed. Thoughts thinned. Though different, still came. The stars remained where they were. The sky held its shape. Nothing fell apart. The world learned, in those long hours, that it could exist without immediate answers. That it could rest, without completion. And somewhere beyond sight, beyond sky, beyond the reach of any clock, something listened. Chapter 3. The quiet changes. Morning did not arrive the way it usually did. There was light, but it felt thinner, as if the night had not fully let go. In the village, people woke slowly. They did not wake all at once. Sleep loosened its hold gently, as though it had been asked to stay a little longer. Windows were opened. Air moved through familiar rooms. Nothing appeared broken. Nothing felt wrong. And yet, something was different. The moon had not risen. And because it had not risen, the night had behaved differently. Shadows lingered longer than usual. They had not crept. They had rested. Corners of rooms felt deeper, not darker, just more present. Candles that had burned late, left behind thicker wax. Marks on tables and shelves felt older than they should have been. The forest responded first. Trees stretched differently. Not higher, not lower, just slower. Leaves caught the morning light, as if uncertain where to place it. Birds resumed their calls. One by one. They did not sing loudly. They tested the day. Before welcoming it, paths through the forest felt unchanged underfoot, yet longer. Each step seemed to take more time than it had the day before. The forest did not resist this. It accepted the added space. At the shore, the sea revealed the clearest difference. The tide had not followed its usual reach. Water rested farther from the land. Shells lay uncovered, where they were not usually seen. The sand held patterns that did not belong to any remembered wave. Fishermen noticed. They said nothing at first. They simply stood and looked. The sea did not feel troubled. It felt thoughtful. As the day unfolded, small changes appeared everywhere. Clocks felt slightly out of step with one another. Meals were finished, either too quickly or not at all. Conversations paused in places where no pause was meant to be. People found themselves listening more, not for danger, for something else. Children asked fewer questions. Adults answered more slowly. There was no urgency, just attention. As evening approached again, the world prepared differently. Lanterns were set out earlier. Fires were kept warmer. Stories were told with more care. No one spoke of fear. They spoke of noticing. The stars appeared once more, just as they had the night before. They took their places patiently, leaving space. The sky waited again, and somewhere far beyond the reach of sight, beyond the gentle pull of the sea, beyond the measured turning of clocks, the moon listened. It listened to the quiet adjustments, to the softer waves, to the longer shadows, to the way the world learned to slow itself. The moon was not lost. It was not broken. It was not gone. It was waiting to. Chapter 4, Where the Moon Had Gone. Far beyond the waking world, beyond the reach of weather and wind, there was a place that did not change quickly. It was not hidden. It was simply distant. This was where the moon rested. Not in motion, not in absence, but in stillness. The moon had not always been a thing of light. Long ago, before oceans learned their rhythm, and before forests learned to listen, the moon had been given a task: to watch, to remember, to return. Each night, as it rose into the sky, the moon gathered more than light. It gathered moments, the quiet endings of days, the last thoughts before sleep, the slow breathing of the world at rest. These moments did not fade. They settled, layer upon layer, night after night, century after century. The moon carried them gently. It never complained. It never slowed. It simply rose, and rose again. But even things made for patience must sometimes rest. On this night, the moon had reached its quiet place and chosen stillness, not because it was tired, but because it was full. The memories it carried had grown heavy, not with sorrow, with gentleness, with the weight of a world that trusted it completely. The moon rested where sound did not travel, where light did not need to shine, where time moved slowly enough to be felt. The moon did not glow brightly. It softened. It let its light settle inward, folding around everything it had gathered. It listened. It listened to the world below, adjusting its pace, to waves finding new rhythms, to forests stretching into deeper quiet, to people learning how to wait without worry. The moon did not abandon the sky. It remained aware of it. But awareness does not always require presence. Stillness was not neglect. It was care. The moon understood something the world was only beginning to learn: that light is not always needed immediately. That rest can exist without guidance. That waiting can be gentle. And so the moon remained where it was, holding its gathered nights, allowing them to settle, not forever, just long enough. Chapter 5. The World Without Its Light. As the second night settled, the world did not resist it. It welcomed it. Lanterns were lit a little earlier than usual. Not because the darkness demanded it, but because people had learned to prepare. The glow was soft enough. In the village, homes felt warmer. People stayed closer together. Stories were told again, but more slowly this time. Words were chosen with care. Pauses were allowed. Children listened with heavy eyes. They were not afraid of the dark. The dark felt different now. Deeper, kinder. In the forest, creatures adjusted their rest. Paths were followed by memory, not light. Trees held the night between them, like a shared breath. The forest did not hurry sleep. It allowed it to arrive on its own. At the shore, fires burned low and steady. Their reflections stretched across the water, not trying to replace the moon, only to offer companionship. Waves responded gently. They had learned how to move. Without instruction, the sea did not forget the moon. It remembered, and remembering was enough. Across the land, people noticed something unexpected. The night felt quieter, not emptier, quieter. Without moonlight, sounds carried differently. Footsteps softened. Voices lowered themselves naturally. Even thoughts seemed to slow. Sleep came in layers. Not suddenly, not completely. People drifted, woke briefly, then drifted again. Dreams stretched. They felt deeper, as if given more space. Some dreamed of wide skies. Some dreamed of still water. Some dreamed of nothing at all. No one was harmed by the waiting. No one was lost. The world continued, just differently. By the time the stars reached their highest places, the land had settled into a shared rhythm. A slower one, a gentler one. And somewhere far beyond sight, the moon listened. It felt the change, the patience. The moon understood then that the world was learning what it had always known. That light is a gift, not a requirement. That rest can exist without guidance. The worldly that it could wait. Chapter 6. When the moon returned. The moon did not return suddenly. It did not rise all at once, or announce itself. It returned the way rest does. Quietly. The world felt it before it saw it. The sea sensed the familiar pull, and leaned toward it without effort. Waves stretched a little farther, then settled. The rhythm returned, yet remembered. In the forest, light touched the upper leaves first. Not brightly, gently. Shadows softened where they had once rested deeply. The forest accepted the change. Without resistance, it had learned patience. In the village, someone noticed a pale glow at the edge of a window. They did not speak. They did not wake anyone. They simply watched. Slowly, the moon rose, not as it had before. Its light was softer now, less insistent, as though it had learned something. During its stillness, the stars welcomed it back. Without crowding, they shifted slightly, making room. The sky felt complete again. Lanterns were dimmed. Fires were allowed to settle. The night did not brighten suddenly. It eased. People slept more deeply. Dreams loosened their grip. Breathing steadied. The world rested. As one, far above, the moon watched quietly. It did not rush its journey. It did not climb higher than needed. It simply stayed. From that night on, the moon continued to rise. But it was never taken for granted again. People remembered the waiting. They remembered the quiet. They remembered how the world had learned to rest without being guided. And when the moon appeared, night after night, it was no longer expected. It was welcomed, because light, the world had learned, is most beautiful when it is given. And so the moon rose, not because it had to, but because it was invited.